What's up, Seven? I keep getting asked to talk about my story or tell my story, and I don't really feel comfortable doing that, so I guess that would be considered stepping out of my comfort zone. Um, a minute ago, I tried to film this, and it was 2:22 on the clock, and then something happened and the video cut off. I think I stopped it on accident, because I don't understand technology anymore, apparently. Anywho, I hope everyone can hear me. I'm gonna make breakfast. I just got up a little bit ago out of bed. I've been up, but I've just been laying in bed because I've been having bouts of grief, and when that happens, I don't want to do shit. Um, Fucked up. It's weird. I can talk to y'all all day about all this stuff about grief, but for some reason, on occasion, I can't seem to apply the things I speak about to myself. It's like I won't allow myself to experience certain aspects or forms of healing. I'd rather hold on to the grief. Apparently, it's fucking frustrating. Excuse me if I curse. Anywho, I don't want to talk about my story because my story, in my opinion, is filled with a lot of stuff that would be considered trauma. And who the hell wants to keep reliving that? I sure as hell don't. But I'll try to sum up my story without telling y'all my actual story. Like, I'm gonna tell you my story, but I mean in the sense of like details. How about we do it? What would be considered an outline? That would be more comfortable to me at this point. And if anybody wants to hear more, because maybe they heard of somebody that went through something and want to better understand it, or maybe they went through it themselves and they want to better understand it or feel not alone and can relate, then drop a comment in the thingy down below, I guess, because it's just, I don't like talking about it really. So I was born in the early 70s, and I was born a girl. And if you don't, what? Yes, I'm a trans man, and I was born a girl. And if you don't understand that, fucking click the video off, pause, go read about trans people from actual reliable sources, or maybe you know someone that knows somebody, and talk to them about it. Ask them what their life was like, if they were willing to talk about it, because they may not want to fucking discuss it with you. And then come back and watch this video. So yes, I was born a girl. And let me preface this before I get into this. Personally, off the top of my head, I can think of three different occasions where I shouldn't be here anymore. Starting with my birth. Apparently, my mother had a complicated birth with me, and they had to do an emergency C-section. Otherwise, she was gonna die, and I was gonna die. And I wasn't told this until probably about 10 or so years ago by my dad, because I asked him specifically. They just kept telling me, oh, you're premature, because I was premature. And they would never tell me what happened or why. I just never really thought about it. And then finally I asked one day, and I was like, I want the truth. And my dad, thank you kindly, Dad, for doing that. He told me. And what was going on was that my mom had something happen. The embryonic sac ripped from her womb wall inside of her and ripped the sac open. She was bleeding internally, and all of the embryonic fluid was basically coming out, and it was basically like having a wet paper bag or wet plastic bag, like being in a plastic bag with water in it, and then the water leaking, and the bag's just going to go like this, because you know what's going to happen to the thing inside. It's going to suffocate. So that's what was going on. So that's the first thing that I questioned, like, maybe I really don't want to be here. So that happened. So I was born. Then at 7 or 8, my dad's father, passes away. I was very, very close with him. He had a stroke. He had 2 strokes. He had a pacemaker put in before I was born, and I used to put my ear up and pump on his chest and listen to his pacemaker because it would actually tick. And he didn't speak. He was bilingual because he was Hispanic. And then after his stroke, for some reason, his languages got mixed up, and so he would speak sentences of English and Spanish, and sometimes mostly Spanish, and no one really understood what he was saying except for me for some reason. So I was very close with that man. He passed away. That hit me really hard. Right before that, my parents got a divorce. That hit me really hard because I never saw them argue. They always hid it from me. I had no idea that their marriage was going through what it was going through, and they got a divorce, and that was very traumatizing to me because I liked my dad. He was a cool man. He and I were like this. He understood me on so many different levels that my mom didn't understand me on. And so when he passed away, I was kind of like, what the fuck? And so yeah. Anyways, so they divorced. Then my mom, being the narcissistic that she is, she hooks up with the first fucking person that has a dangle between his legs, and he turns out to be a real piece of work. What is it, a xenophobe, when you just don't agree with anything unless they look exactly like you and act like you? He's basically a Trump walking around, another version. He's homophobic, transphobic, racist. He put his hands all over me from the ages of about 10 till I was 18 and left that household. He molested me. He didn't have sex with me, but he made sure that at every opportunity he could, he fucking found a way to touch my body somewhere. So then, as I'm growing up, now remember I'm a woman, or I'm a girl, as I'm growing up, I'm realizing, wait a minute, I'm not attracted to boys. Boys, I know when there's a good-looking boy around because he's handsome. And let me preface this. Since the age of 3 or 4, I kept asking my mom where the hell my penis was because I was like, I'm a boy, where's my dick? How come I don't have one? And of course, it being the 70s, she was like, la 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 la, I don't want to hear that shit. So we never dealt with any of that. So then I get into high school and I'm realizing, I don't really find boys attractive at all. I mean, I can tell when there's a handsome dude in the room. I can tell when there's a good-looking person in the room, but I'm definitely not attracted to this person. I'm more attracted to their girlfriend. What the hell's going on with that? And so I'm struggling with that all through high school and junior high, whenever puberty hits. Woo, shoot. Whenever puberty hits. Excuse me. Sorry, babe. Man, I just knocked over all my stuff. I wonder if they're trying to tell me don't say any of this stuff. No, that was me. That was my fault. Sorry, y'all. I knocked them over. The photos. Sorry. Sorry, that was loud. So yeah, I'm dealing with that. Then I realized that my stepfather and my mother are not going to pay for my education in any way. And don't tell me this until my senior year of high school. So then I'm freaking out and not sure how I'm going to pay for college because I wanted to go to college. And the next thing I know, I'm joining the Marine Corps because they would pay for college. So I was like, all right, well, let me look at all the armed services and what's the best looking one, the toughest looking one, the one that looked like I'd have the most fun. And that was the fucking Marine Corps. So then I went into the Marine Corps right out of high school at 18 years old. Struggling with my sexual orientation and identity, and struggling with my gender identity, and not even really realizing it at that point. I go into the Marine Corps, spend roughly 3 years, I guess. And if you know anything about the military, you're going, huh? 3 years? Why 3 years? I thought a term of duty was 4 years. You're correct. Term of duty is 4 years, at least for the Marine Corps. Why did I only spend about 3 years? Because I realized that I was gay, and I started interacting with girls, and had some people in my office that didn't agree with any of that. They were not LGBTQ friendly in any capacity, and so made it a big mission to get me in trouble, and I got kicked out. The day that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was put into effect, my master sergeant or top had a closed door office meeting with the lower ranking people in the office and basically pressured them and kind of like underhandedly threatened their careers if they didn't come forward and out me. All of them did except for one. Gallman. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. I don't know why she didn't do it, but she didn't. None of them had ever seen me interact sexually with any females. I never came out and said I was gay. So, to me, it was a witch hunt. Even though I was gay, I never said it to anybody. And if I was or was not in having sexual activities with other women, it was nobody's business what happens, because we don't go around to all the other people that are straight in the military and going, well, why are you fucking your wife, or why are you fucking your husband? What the hell's up with that? Did you do that last night? How many times did you do it? Where did you do it? Like, it's nobody's fucking business. Period. So yeah, so I get kicked out. I come back home to stay with my mom and my asshole stepdad and realize that's a bad idea. So then I go and stay with my sister. That ends up being a bad idea. Then my dad finally is like, come back and stay with me, and he's living in San Antonio. So I live in San Antonio with him for a while. I really enjoyed it there. He ended up moving back to Dallas, so we come back to Dallas. I meet a girl. I have a 12-year relationship with her. She turns out to basically be a narcissist, just like my mother. Apparently, I was trying to heal that relationship through her, which is fucked up, but it's some Freudian bullshit, I don't know. We break up. I basically just say, you know what, fuck relationships, I don't want to deal with that for a while. And so for about 10 years, I'm wandering around what the fuck, trying to figure out what to do. Well, in that 10 years, I realized, you know what, I'm not even supposed to be a woman. I've been saying I've been a man for as long as I can fucking remember. Let's go explore that. Hi, my name's Evan. Nice to meet you. How are you doing? I feel much better. I like myself a hell of a lot more. I really, really enjoy life so much more now that I align with what I feel inside as my soul feels that my expression should be in the earth plane. I feel so much freaking better about life. And once that happened, I was like, oh, I think I'm ready to date. This is amazing. I'm going to start dating. Well, in 2018 on New Year's Day, I had an injury and I hurt my Achilles tendon. And I had to get surgery. So I get surgery. Like, literally, the doctor was like, you're lucky you came when you did, because if you had walked around on this fucked up foot any longer, I don't think I would have been able to fix you at all. So I'm fucking lucky to be walking around, actually, using 2 legs. So thank you for that. My dad passes away. And I'm really like, what the fuck at that point? Like I said earlier, yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? He and I were very close. My dad understood me. My dad kind of knew I was supposed to be a boy. Hell, he told me he wished I had been a boy. He wished for a boy. He wanted a son. And he finally got his son, and then he fucking croaks. And that was a real shock, because he wasn't sick, and then he was in the hospital, and then he had to have his freaking leg amputated, then he went into a coma, he woke back up, and then he croaked 3 days later. And all of that happened within about a week and a half. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, now what? Well, okay, well, maybe I should distract myself with trying to date, because I've never actually done that as a dude, and much less as a straight dude. I didn't even really date as a woman, because, you know, I just fucking really wasn't shown how to do any of that, because I didn't like girly things. I didn't align as a girl, so I didn't really go that route. I kind of stuck to myself. It's weird saying this, I had boyfriends and stuff, but not very many, and few and far between. Never had sex with them. The one time I tried to have sex with a guy, I literally was like, nope, this is definitely not for me. I'm sorry. It's a waste of your time. Yeah, that was interesting. And so I started to try to figure out how to do life and do it in a way that made me feel good. And so I figured that out. I started meditating, started going to therapy again. And the next thing you know, I met somebody. 2 years, about almost 2 years after my dad passed away, I met someone. And I was like, holy shit, I really like this lady. I think about it now, I never fucking liked any of my girlfriends prior to that lady, Brandina. I never genuinely could have told you that I actually really sincerely liked any of my girlfriends. And no offense to any of you ladies if you're fucking creeping out and stalking me or whatever the hell you want to call it and Because really, honestly, you shouldn't be doing any of that. We have no encounters with each other anymore. There's no reason. So if any of you are my exes and you're watching this, creepy, in my opinion. And especially for one that I can think of off the top of my head, but we won't name that person. Anywho, one more thing. Yeah, so I liked this girl a lot. Like, a lot. So much to the point where I was like, I actually love her. And we expressed that to each other, and we decided we wanted to be in a relationship together. And I was at the point, in that point where I was like, I'm gonna move to Oregon. I wanna move to Oregon. I have some friends that live in there, in Oregon. I visited Oregon where they were. I really enjoyed it. I liked the fact that I could go do a hell of a lot of shit outdoors. Apparently I really enjoy nature and like being outside. And it just really seemed the place to be for me. So I was like, I met this girl, and I was like, look, we haven't even really gotten started, but I'm gonna move to Oregon, and there's no turning me back from that. And you can either join me or you can stay here, but it's up to you. And she ended up saying, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it. So we were gonna move to Oregon, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yeah, and then she decides to croak and die, and that was almost 5 years ago. Four and something. I don't know who's counting. I guess I am. So yeah, that's my story. And now I live in my apartment, trying to figure out what the fuck, and still experiencing waves of grief apparently. So yeah, I don't understand why I'm supposed to share that, but there's my story. On another note, sometimes I ponder a lot of shit because I'm at that point where I think I want companionship again, but at the same time I'm like, no, because it's not going to be B. It's not B. And, I used to call it B for short. And so, yeah, I'm having a little bit of a struggle with that. Because, finding a person outside of yourself that is okay with the body of a trans person is kind of a little bit of a challenge for some people. I can't say that it's been that for me, because I had a girlfriend as a trans dude. She and I had no issues with my body. We had a lot of sex. It was great. It was awesome. We both enjoyed it. But, I mean, as much crapperson news is about trans folks, I'm just saying, like, the dating pool is a little limited, I guess. I try not to say that because to me that's a manifestation that's not a good one. But so I'm struggling with that, which brings me back to the fact that I like to ponder a lot of shit. Sometimes I wish I had been a philosophy major, but I don't know anybody that has a high-paying job that has a philosophy degree. In order for me to have this apartment, I have to have money because it pays my bills. I was pondering the question of why I'm struggling with the idea of having, if I were to date again, it not being the lady I was dating because she died. And it started getting me to think about why I feel that way, and part of it is of the fact that it's not the same person. And how do you say this? To me, you not only have your physical body, you have your mental body, and you have your spirit or your soul or your energy body. I mean, we all know we have auras and an energy field and all this stuff that's outside of our body. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. I'm not going to tell you where. I don't have the time to do that for you. I'm sorry to be an ass about it. But yeah, if you don't believe any of that shit, it's true. It's been scientifically proven. So go look it up. And with that being said, I like to call sometimes our soul or our energy body our essence. And I feel like everybody has a certain essence. That's what kind of makes up them, their personality, their mannerisms, the things that they do that some people may find attractive or quirky or weird or unusual or amazing or great or negative. Uh, Everybody has an essence. And then if you really think about it, for instance, where does that where does that essence come from? That essence comes from not only the person that's embodying the body, the energetic being that's embodying the body, but it also comes from the two people that came together and had sex and created the human version of the person you may find attractive or dislike or like a lot or hang out with or buddy with or best friends with, your BFF or your best bud or whoever you're hanging out with that you get along and really enjoy being around. There's an essence to those people that you find on some level attractive, even if you're a straight guy hanging out with a straight guy. It doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you find them sexually attractive. There's just something about them that you like and enjoy being around. And there was a lot of essence about that woman. And the reason I'm going to that is her picture's over there. There's a lot of stuff about her that was in her essence that I liked a lot. Very much so. And that's not going to be encapsulated by the next person that comes along because they're not going to be Brandina. And I'm irritated by that. It irritates me on some level. Yes, I put ketchup on my eggs. So what? Kiss my butt. I also, on occasion, put it on my tamales, which my parents, especially my dad, and my sister think is absolutely ridiculous because what Hispanic person puts ketchup on their tamales? I do. And if you haven't watched my videos and you're like, Hispanic, what the fuck are you talking about, Evan? My last name is Martinez. My dad was Hispanic. I don't look it because my mama was very, very white. I was called a güero or güero growing up by my family. It wasn't a term of crappiness to people back in the day. It was kind of a term of love. It was the 70s, y'all. Shit was weird. It was the 70s. Okay. Anywho, get water. Then that made me thinking, well, if our essence is part of our physical makeup, part of our DNA, part of our astrology signs, how the signs that we decide to be born into that's visible about it when we come here in this vessel, that would be free will, right? And my guide said, in this sense, yes, because here's why I bring this up. When my dad passed away, my cousins, my dad was the youngest of 5 boys in his family. His mother was either at the end or the middle, towards the end, of either 11, 12, or 13 brothers and sisters. And out of all those, I only remember maybe 2 I remember. My tia Paulina and my tia Josie I remember very, very much because I was always over there as a little kid. We were always over there, and so I remember them. But all the other ones I don't barely remember or I never met. And we got my dad's services for his funeral. One of my cousins came up to me and started crying. And I was like, of course you're crying. My dad, I get it, my dad passed away. And he was like, that's not why I'm crying. I'm crying because, of course, yeah, your dad passed away. He said, but for half a second, I thought you were your dad. And I was like, what? And he told me my body mannerisms, the way my body moved around on certain occasions, I would make certain movements, and it looked exactly like my dad. My facial features, sometimes I would do a facial feature or have an expression, and he was like, I thought I was looking at your dad. He said, even some of the things you were saying up there, because I went up and spoke, he's like, even some of the things you were saying and how you were saying them, I thought I was looking at Uncle Frankie. And I was like, holy shit. So to me, that's an essence. So that means that whoever you are married to right now, take a good look at them. Sit there and take a good look at them. They're probably going to feel you staring at them and going, what? Because you are literally looking at the combination of three essences mixed together into one human vessel. Think about it. The mother, the father, and themselves. That's what you're attracted to. And if you think I'm wrong about that, well, you better go read some Freudian shit, because he says that we end up dating our parents. Now, personally, I don't agree with everything Freud had to say, which is, it doesn't matter, I'm not a shrink. I don't have any kind of medical or legal or psychology licenses of any kind to tell anybody anything. These are just my observations of the world as I've experienced it. And now you know. Sorry, I'm hungry. Oh, also, raise your hand if you've been to Rome and seen the Sistine Chapel in real life with your own eyes. Raise your hand right now. If you have, good for you, and I'm not saying that in a facetious manner. I really do mean that. That's a place I would like to go visit and see myself. Haven't been, only seen it in pictures. But anybody that's been there, anybody that knows anything about the Sistine Chapel and Michelangelo's art will know that the creation of Adam is the one that's displayed in the most famous one, at the very, very pinnacle of the chapel of the roof in the top. And take a moment right now, if you have another phone or computer or tablet or something around you, take a moment please right now, pause this video and look up that photo, and then start once you got it pulled up. And I don't mean just where their hands are, I mean the entire thing, so you can see Adam and God, and then come back to me and we'll start the video again. I'll give you a moment. Okay. Hopefully found it. Some people have begun the discussion or argument that traditionalists, probably, I guess you should call them, would probably say that the moment of between God and Adam is where, as it's entitled, God created Adam. But nowadays, as we, as a conscious and as humans, have expanded our brains and our thoughts and everything over the umpteen number of years and times that we have been here in lives and lives and lives, because we cycle through lives, we come back to learn lessons every time we pass away. We don't really die, just the vessel dies, our energy goes. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, so that means it just transforms and changes shape, which is absolutely true. So that means that when you croak, you don't really croak. You go back, do your thinking, and then you decide when and how you're going to come back here to learn the lesson you didn't learn the prior time, so your soul can expand, because you are an extension of God. And we're going to get to that why I'm saying that. I'm about to get to that point. So some people would actually argue that's when God created Adam. But now, since I've said we've expanded our minds and our thoughts and everything, there are people that now would say, actually, no. I would say that's actually the point of time when God was like, I'm going to give you either a soul, a consciousness, which could be considered a soul, or free will, which could be considered a conscious, which is considered a soul. That's when God infused his own essence into this, the vessel, so that we'd be able to have the emotional human experiences that we asked to come here and experience. You can experience certain emotions. If you think about how we express those emotions, we do it on a physical aspect. Why do I say that? Tears produced is physical. That's water. That's tangible shit. That's the physical. This is the only place where you get to turn your actual thoughts into something tangible. Think about that. I see a medium on occasion because I like to talk to my guides without having to sit and meditate, because sometimes I get lazy about it. Or I want confirmation about stuff that I've experienced. So I'll set up a medium session. And I asked her one day, I was like, is this place like the movie Man in Black? Because it sure does seem like it to me sometimes. And she said, yes, absolutely. This is the only place in the cosmos at this point right now that we are aware of, in the cosmos that we're in, that actually has enough density to slow down the molecular structure of energy and atoms to make them solids so that we have physical shit. And it's called an equal playing field because it's a dual density place. However you want to label it, light and dark, good and bad, positive, negative, whatever, it all comes from that. If you watch my video called Message Time, I pull up the comb and explain all of that crap. So, I don't know why I went on that whole tangent, but I was asked to talk about that. I guess because I'm struggling with the fact that if I decide to date again, I might end up with somebody. Well, if I decide to let that in my life again, there's a good chance, well, not a good chance, there's not going to be Brandina. And I figured out a way to go, oh, I'm okay with that. Right now, I'm struggling. I'm like on that. Who's the guy? I can't remember his name. There was a guy that I think he walked a tightrope between two buildings in New York. But you know when you got the thing and you're just like, that's kind of how I feel about it right now. It's not a very good feeling. I'm not gonna lie. It's not the best feeling to have. It makes you feel unsteady in a way and cautious because I don't want to get my heart broken again. It's not that Brandina broke my heart, but when somebody dies that you are in love with and having an intimate relationship with, how do you, my question right now is, how do you navigate through them not telling you, like when you break up with somebody or they break up with you, there's a decision made. There's a point of time in your mind where you're like, I'm not in love with this person anymore. And when you break up with somebody, you're basically telling them and asking them, like, please don't love me anymore because I don't feel that way about you. So that person has to find a way to shut off those feelings. How do you do that when the person croaked and they didn't say, I don't want to be with you anymore? They just, the last thing you heard from them, from them to your ear was, I love you. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. And I don't like it. Anyway. Holy crap, it's been 30 minutes? Holy crap. Y'all don't need to hear me talk about crap for 30 minutes. I'm gonna go continue to do it.